Hey guys, Sharpend here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create a gritty lead sound taken from Rustie's latest album from a track titled Atlantean Airship. It sounds something like that. Okay, so this video was made for a request I got in one of my previous tutorials to do a sound design tutorial on the synths from Rustie's latest album that was released in 2015. In this video I'm going to show you how to recreate the drop lead in his track Atlantean Airship. And I'm going to start by setting the first oscillator to a saw wave, and I'm going to enable the second oscillator and to set it to saw wave as well. And I'm going to increase the pitch of the second oscillator by an octave. Now I'm going to increase the unison to 16 voices, and I'm going to increase the detuning like that. Now I'm going to reduce the volume of the second oscillator by a bit, and I'm going to set the unison of the first oscillator to 6 voices, and to reduce the detuning by a bit so that it sounds like this. So now I'm going to enable the low pass filter, and I'm going to control it using an LFO on envelope mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the cutoff a bit back, and I'm going to set the modulation to be around here, and the envelope is going to look something like that. I'm going to set the rate to be very low at around here. And now that we have this basic sound, I'm going to layer it with a noise oscillator. I'm going to use some high-passed white noise that sounds like this, and I'm going to control its volume using the same LFO like that. So altogether it should sound something like that. Now I'm going to add some effects. So I'm going to add some unison, but not a lot. I'm going to add some dimension expanding, and I'm going to reduce the size of it so that it sounds like this. And I'm going to add quite a bit of distortion, which really makes the sound what it is. I'm going to be using the 0 square function. I'm going to set the drive all the way up, like that. As you can hear, it sounds very gritty, very raw after the distortion. So now we're going to add some chorus, and I'm going to set the low pass filter to be all the way up, so that it sounds open, like that, instead of like this. I'm going to set it to around 40% mix. And I'm going to add some EQ so we can cut some of the high end so that it sounds slightly darker, like that. Now in order to bring some of that energy that the high end had, we're going to introduce multiband compression, which is exactly the same as the OTT plugin. And I'm going to increase the gain at around 10 dB, like that. As you can see, we have a lot of unnecessary low end after we used the multiband compression right here. So I'm going to use a high pass filter to get rid of it, like that. Now another thing that you can do is to enable the sub oscillator on an octave above, and to set it to sine wave, and then use the same LFO to control its volume. And that way you get a slightly different sound. It sounds slightly more like a weird video game lead, like that. And you can blend them in together at around 50% volume. And that is pretty much the main sound. So one more thing that you can do to make it sound slightly more stuttery and fractured is to increase the rate of this LFO by quite a lot, and it's going to give us a weird plucky sound, but it's still going to sound like a lead. So I'm going to increase the rate by quite a bit, like that. So this gives us a slightly more stuttery sound, and as you can see, thanks to the tons of distortion that we put on top of it, it still sounds tonal. Like without the distortion it would sound something like that. like an actual pluck, but thanks to the distortion, it still sounds like a sustained lead. So this is the main sound, and one last trick that you can do is to route it to a different channel. I've routed it to channel number 39, and this channel I just put some room reverb using convolution reverb, and I also reduced the low end and increased the high end using an EQ, and then I distorted it a bit, and then I used an envelope that tells the main channel when to send its signal to the room reverb to create a slightly different effect on certain notes to give it more space and to sound wider. So here's an example of how it sounds without it, and here's how it sounds with it. So this gives you a way to add some variation to certain notes, and it also allows you to cut through the mix in certain moments that have a lot of other instruments together, like for example in the first beat of the first bar or around the first beat of the first bar here. And that is pretty much it. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what subject you want me to cover up next time.